say that, oh, we're all know how to words. We're close. We're close. Do a little beta testing. We just started using Huddle last year. It's fantastic. The only thing is I haven't gotten into the presentation portion of it yet. Kind of messed around with it a little bit, but I don't like, it's got no animation going on with it. And I like to do the little animation. And until they figure that out, I'll still do the PowerPoint. Basically, you guys can figure that out. It's thinking outside the box. I'm always thinking outside the box. The biggest thing is, finding, John and I talk all the time in the mornings on our long commutes. Other thing is when we do the classic, when I watch the, quarterback coach at Andrean, been there for 4 years, love it. It's great because about the only letdown is I don't call the varsity offense, my head coach does it, but I have a major influence. I like to call myself the offensive coordinator, and I still do JV just because I like to be able to call the offense and all that fun stuff. I've been to numerous clinics over the years, and the classic, you want to see some type of joke. I'm the worst joke teller in the world. So I figured I'd have somebody else do it for me. And once again, technology is great when it works.
You can't hear it, actually have to actually plug right in.
Otherwise, I'll just skip it.
It's the best kind of joke.
Best joke, so we'll just get right into it. So installing, I'm titling this Installing No Huddle at Any Level because like I said, I'm just the JV coach. Things I've kind of, when I talk about animals, your base wants to stay the same, but you want to kind of change like a chameleon. We want to go as fast as possible. That's the big thing if I found the last couple of years talking to Coach Clinic is if you go fast, it's hard for the defense to respond. And then the classic thing about spread is people think, oh, spread is finesse. No, we still will pound you with the football. A little bit about me. I've been coaching for 20 years, and I've coached every position. It's kind of unique. So I have that, I know what a wide receiver should do, a running back should do, quarterback, O-line. On Saturdays, I'm the O-line coach, because that's the most important thing about any football team is the offensive line. Offensive I coached in are the I-Pro, the little bit of wing T, veer option from under, got some air raid philosophy going in there, and then gun option. Now I'm sold on gun option. I'm big on, it's 11-on-11 football. And then my base philosophy in life is adjust and proceed. I worked at camp numerous years ago, and this guy said it's all about adjusting and proceeding. The place that I teach at for the past 10 years, they talk about, they know that's my philosophy, and they know it. I was like, what's my base philosophy? No, they know, adjust and proceed. Base beliefs, hit them where they ain't. Best mismatch, or stud versus pud. Got to be able to run the football. A lot of people get in the spread, they get down to the 10-yard line, they're still trying to throw it, pound it. It's high school football. You got to be able to run the football when you get inside the 20 and the 10. And then plays are expensive and formations are inexpensive. Coach and I talk about this all the time of, you want your base, like our base is veer option. We want to be able to run that out of 2 back, 1 back, trips, empty. And then days when Coach and I were at HF, our coach talked about a 100% pure adrenaline, going fast. And that translates, you have to fully do this the way Coach Kanicki does this, you got to go fast in practice too. My influences, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but my main influences are Dan Robinson and Andrew Coverdale. Andrew Coverdale has written numerous books. He is unbelievable. I've introduced him at clinics. I've conversed with him numerous times. He is just, he's been doing PowerPoint stuff when people didn't know what PowerPoint was. It's unbelievable. Tom Bailey, Ken Leonard, and then Brett Eckley. Tom Bailey I coached with at HF, unbelievable influence. He kind of pushed me all the way to the spread. I mean, the whole Mike Leach, Texas Tech of, when I coached there, I coached the quarterbacks, the wide receivers, and the running backs. We never did any type of running back drills. All they did was catch the football. Because he said, they should know how to mesh. We don't worry about that, but the hardest thing to do is to catch the football. We want them to catch the football, work on that. Ken Leonard is the head coach at Springfield, Sacred Heart. He's won numerous state championships, same with him. He's very available, you can go down there and talk to him all the time, they go fast. And then Brett Eckley is a coach that I met through Ken Leonard out of Missouri. He has written a couple books, awesome reference. And then a couple other guys up there you can go through, I'm not gonna read the whole thing. A couple of guys that you may not know, Tom Dunham is my old former head coach when I was in high school. He's an old run and shooter. He was running and shooting in the 80s, and I went down when he used to coach at Irwin College in Indiana, and was just no huddle, adapted all the stuff. And run and shoot and air raid is kind of the same. They kind of overlapped a little bit. Chuck Martin, the OC at Notre Dame, just you talk about thinking outside the box. He's it. Darren Slack, he's the quarterback academy guy. He's the R4 guy. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I introduced him a couple years ago. He's great. That's, if you don't have a quarterback system, that's the quarterback system that you should use. Dave Yost used to be the OC at Missouri. Now he's the OC at Washington State. And he's another guy that's just, I've seen him speak a couple of times, very dynamic, thinks outside the box. And of course, John Konecki. And in my long commute, I go from Chicago Heights to Valpo, it's 45 minutes. I have oftentimes of thinking time. A couple other guys, just to look it up, cyber buddies or guys that I've actually talked to. Chris Brown, just Google him, smart football, unbelievable guy. Derek Leonard is Ken Leonard's son, and he's another guy. I think he's won like 3 state championships in a row. I just saw him last week speak, just unbelievable. Rusty Stivers out of California, another guy, cyber guy, he's written some books and done some videos. Jay Wilkinson, another guy. James Vint is a very good guy. He's kind of up and coming guy. He's written a book on pistol, whether it's zone-based or the veer option-based. And then a couple of other guys. If you don't know Brandon Houston, he's Huey's X&O. I don't know if you guys know, have ever been on that board. It's unbelievable. It's like, he's a guy out of Texas. It's a foreign board, and it's got like 25,000 coaches on it. It's just unbelievable. Okay, couple rules. And this has been really adapted from my school. We have 3 basic rules at my school that I teach at. It's be safe, be safe, be smart, and be independent. And I kind of adapted to my quarterbacks. And that's, you know, they know it now. Be quick, be smart, and be vocal. So be quick with your decisions. Be smart with your reads, and then be vocal with your leadership. You know, you get the young guys that don't know how to call out cadence or yell at guys, and I will often get my quarterbacks, I'll give them after every practice, okay, I'm going to give you a little thing to think about is at next practice, I want you to yell at someone. And then I've kind of adapted it to the other positions, O-line, 3Bs, and I saw a thing on Notre Dame, the offensive line, they talked about, one of the dads talked about demolish, dictate, and dominate. I kind of like that, so I write all this stuff down. Once again, O-line rules, be quick, be low, and be physical. Then running back rules, I've kind of just started thinking about putting these in. Be quick, the burst in the hole, be north and south, be physical, you know, the first 5 for the team and the rest for me as far as running the hole. Be secure with the football. And that should be wide receiver rules. Be physical in your blocking, be focused in your catching, and then be a nerd. I just saw Coach Noel Malzone talk about being a nerd. You know, you get the guys out there and all they want to do is catch the football and be fancy. It's like, be a nerd, be disciplined with your routes. Okay, no huddle ideas. My findings over the last couple of years. Buzzwords, avalanche, thunder, and sprint. I've used this in the last couple years. Codes, kind of develop into themes. Asking your players, wives, and coworkers when you're stumped about signals or codes. It's unbelievable that what stuff that you can get when you're outside of your realm of, you know, asking your wife, asking your kids. Film your signals. I did that a couple years ago, and you put that on Huddle, or I use Vimeo too, and use more than one signaler, and I kind of use that. I know Coach Clinic goes fast, and it's all him. He goes so fast, he only needs one signaler, and it's one of those deals where it's kind of like how comfortable you are, where you are. I know I can do it, but there are some offensive coordinators that are very analytical, and that will want to look at their color laminated sheet that's, you know, 20 by 20, and well, you can't do that and signal at the same time. You got to have somebody else signal. No huddle ideas, codes, and what I've kind of developed this the last 2 years. Use themes. It's the best way to communicate to your offensive linemen. Don't be restricted by using a P word for power. We started using that, the P word for power, Paul and Peter, you know, to the right and to the left. And then we just, you know, okay, you're going to use Peter for power, and then you're going to use red and gold. Well, you're going to allow Peter, go, go, go. That might slow you down a little bit. And then just to kind of going through that whole aspect of me going from varsity to JV, well, I don't want to go through a Friday night of us saying, go Peter, in the varsity, and then the next day you're saying, go Peter. They know it. Slick defensive coordinators are going to figure that out. So I kind of figured this deal out of using the themes of, okay, start with power. And use the theme. So power, electric could be power to the left, battery to the right, and that's within. If you notice, old classic terms are, it starts with an R. Well, no, there's an R in there, there's an L in there. And then just branch off, plug, spark, volt, and charge. And then it kind of goes back to asking if you get stumped. When I was putting this presentation together, I kind of got stumped on charge and asked my wife. I was like, okay, look at this. Tell me what should I put on here? She's like, charge. Okay. And then you can just set positive and negative. And it goes back to right and left. There's no right and left. And you kind of just go, okay, positive, we're always positive, it's going to be right. Negative is always going to be left. So the nice thing about this is, so you have power, base blocking. You can adjust that and adapt that to 3 different schemes. So for instance, if you want just power run, we would just do our signal for power, shifting the power. And then what I end up doing is call president to the line. So the line knows, okay, president, and then we would adapt that to which way we're going to go. If we wanted to do our option play, a horizontal read play, we would go, say for instance, we want to go positive, and we just give the signal for that. We give our signal. So all we're doing is this and this. We're communicating 2 things at the same time. So this tells what the receivers and the quarterback and the running back are going to do, and then your verbiage is what the line's going to do. And then shovel, you just give, you're going to say positive, and you're doing the shovel. So here, within that 3 things that you're going to run 3 different plays, but the line is blocking the same. And you're saying the same thing to the line. And then that goes back to, you use positive, use spark, use charge, battery. Okay, more than one signaler. That's kind of, I adapted this from when we were at HF. We got down to game 9, and we actually had the team we played game 9. They came to all of our games and filmed our head coach because he was the only one that signaled. And we lost the game because of it. It was kind of difficult. So it goes back to how you feel comfortable of what you're gonna do with it. And like I said, John and I are probably one of the few guys that can actually think about calling plays and signal at the same time. We're very ADHD. I mean, if you can handle it, it would be better, but you always probably should have somebody out there doing the dummy stuff too. Once again, if you're analytical, it helps you as a play caller. That way you're just sitting down there, you can still look and you don't have to worry about doing your signals. And then develop a system that works for you, specific for your team. And this is a finding that I've, last couple of years at a couple of clinics, don't be so specific in right and left. I was at a clinic a couple of years ago that they said that they're in a building where they use their directions for, they're in a class, or in the central hallway, and the right hallway and the left hallway, they use the teacher's names for right and left. So they're calling Johnson, Johnson. Johnson's in the right side, they're going to the right. You know, we're RL in there. Or some people use, you know, where you're situated in your hometown, and then go from there, right and left, you know, east and west. Ask players when stumped. A couple years ago, I didn't know what to do for ISO. I couldn't figure out ISO. Well, ask the quarterback. The quarterback said, well, just do ISO, like Kobe. ISO, isolation, jumper. It's like, hey, if you remember it, then that's good to go. This gives the students, players ownership, which helps them remember. Sometimes we've used opponent mascots. You can use that as dummy calls, possibly. Use your school or your town for directions. And like I said, I go up here, and a couple weeks ago, I was like, okay, we need to figure out a one-handed signal for our Portland play. Winner gets Gatorade, and I send it to all my quarterbacks. So I get the responses back, and you get some wacky ones, and like I said, we'll see if the video works. So I get my freshman quarterback that sends me this. It's like, I'm talking to him during the off season. That's the best way to do it. It's like, there is no way. And they always are trying to figure out, it's like, yeah, like I'm gonna be doing this on the sideline. No, I don't think so. Film your signals. Like I said, we've done that numerous times. It helps in two ways: that you can film the signals, put on mute, and that's a test for your guys. And it's the best way to communicate to your wide receivers, unless they get into that echoing. And I was just at my buddy's school, and I told him I was going to use some of the film. And the best way I've learned to do numbers, and this kind of, I've adapted this from, you know, people use the cell phones for the numbers or this and that. I found the best way to do it is this. And I filmed it at my buddy, Coach Novak. We use this for a route tree. The only reason why I like a route tree is the numbers, so I can do all this stuff. So you don't really have to hear the video as much.
Real easy. This time you're going to count numbers. Show them, not me. Do the exact same thing. Exact same thing as I am. How many noses do you have? That's one. How many? 3 is throat. Throat. 3 is throat. What's this? 4. High 5. That's the easiest one. What's this? 6-pack. Okay. What's this? Drinking. I'm going in order. Maybe. Drinking 7-Up. Okay. What's this? Spider has how many legs? 8. Okay. And then this is 9 and 0. 0. Okay. So now you guys know. That's the numbering. Whatever you guys use numbers for, you got the easiest numbering system in the world. It's not. There are some people that do cell phone doing this 1, 2, 3. You think you can say this is 1 and this is 6 and this is 9. This is this and this and this, and then, you know, long back uses that. One of my wide receivers goes down there and said, he's doing all this. It's like, yeah, all I have to use this. 1. Okay, let me see how quick you are. What's that? 4. Okay. 2. 1. 6. 5. 7. 8. 0. See how easy that is? That is 1 minute. Okay? So one more time? Yep. So ready? about tree, you're never gonna have any type of numbers. Andrew, we use numbers for some stuff and concepts for anything else. So, do number one for me. Hitch. Do two. Slant. Do three. Out. Do four. Post. Five. Post corner. Six. Corner. Seven. Come back. Eight. Eight. Curl. 9, wheel, 9 is wheel, 0. What do you think 0 is? Flat. Bait. There you go. What's this? There you go. Good. What's this? What's this? Snap! Snap. What's this? Okay, line up and tricks. So that was just 2 weeks ago. First time I showed it, they picked it up in 2 minutes. Communicate. I always talk to my guys about how, even though I'm 46 years old, I still play PlayStation, and I like to be able to go, I want them to be my human PlayStation. I want to be able to correct them on the fly. And I say, my big thing is, if you don't know what you're doing, I'm not going to get mad at you. You just put your hands out, I don't know what you're doing. I can communicate with one signal real quick. Okay, a couple years ago, if you guys don't know, Coach and I write a blog, and it's kind of hit or miss how many articles we go through. A couple years ago, I did one on avalanche, which is kind of the answer to, okay, if you get in that pacing and you're not going that fast, and the defense kind of picks up what you're doing, what's the answer to that? And one coach said, we do this thing we call one verbiage, and they call avalanche, and it's a set series of plays, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you just memorize 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can access the article. When I wrote the article, it talked about stay in one formation, go as fast as possible. I've kind of adapted from that now I kind of like to have a couple different formations, just because it's nice, because you're gonna, it's the classic art of war, outflanking your opponent. So set number of plays. Big thing with this is when you have your personnel, make sure that they're smart and they're versatile with your personnel groups. Switch formations to gain advantage and or create confusion. And then end, your fourth play should always be your scan or your no play. And just in the last month, I've said that I'm going to add no play, I'm going to add motion to it. Because how many times did you have your scan, there's no motion. So they kind of know what's going on. The defense can kind of catch on. So this past year, I used the code word thunder. So thunder, I'd call it thunder, and they would know we're going to line up in deuce, wildcat, which puts my running back at quarterback, and we're going to run our power option. Then, after we gain so many yards, we're going to line up in doubles, run double screen. After that, we're going to line up in bunch and run bench, our bench concept. And then number 4 is no play. And then you can add, okay, you're going to get our generic doubles pistol. Okay, why do I have a basketball court on here? The reason is because a couple of years ago, I started coaching at my school, which is all special ed, basketball. How do I teach this stuff to my kids? It was very difficult the first couple of days. And I was like, okay, they didn't know what an elbow was on basketball court. They didn't know what a block was. So I said, you know what? They're visual. We're mostly all visual learners for the most part. So what I'm going to do is, I have polydots. I put polydots on the floor and all color coordinated, because I would have big guys. I'd say get your spots, and big guys would be up here, little guys would be down here. So I started adapting it to, okay, little guys, I yell at that specific kid and say, okay, you're green, 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 you're blue, blue, blue. And that kind of goes back to the whole theory of you're saying one thing, now they know, okay, blue, 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 I'm down low, I'm on the block, I'm on defense. So you're communicating 3 different things to them. Okay, going really fast, and Coach will probably talk about this more than I will. Warp speed, 1 play, 1 formation, communicated by 1 signal or verbal. I did this year, and I used the term sprint. It was one of my tempos that I used the last couple of years. Sprint was run the play as fast as possible.
And this year I said, okay, we're gonna use one of my favorite plays, trips ball. Another way, going really fast, a couple years ago at the Notre Dame Clinic, I saw Coach Chip Kelly talk about the boards, and kind of got into it a little bit. Boards are great if you have that ability to make the boards and all that. My whole thing is, how are you gonna transport them and all that? And they actually do use them. The urban myth was they only use them for personnel groupings. Like, no, I've talked to some of my cyber buddy coaches out there, and they said they've been out to Oregon, they've talked to their coaches, they use it usually for the run game. They get in one formation, go really fast. And that goes back to, he talked about, you ask your offensive lineman, what's number one on the value meal at McDonald's, and they can rattle off that whole thing. Number one, boom, boom, boom. So it's the same thing. Number one of the pictures tells them one thing. And I've adapted this to my own thing, kind of just because I get bored. I was like, okay. A couple years ago, I was at a clinic that one of the teams out in Iowa uses it, and they use it a step above. They use colors. So colors might tell a scheme, might tell direction. And then I adapted it beyond further. I was like, well, why not put, shapes, tell which way that they're going to go. So you yell out square, 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 so they're looking at the square. Or, nerd, 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 he's a square. Pyramid, pyramid. Egypt, Egypt. Kind of that. So they know when we're looking at battery and going back to our theme, what's battery? Power to the right. Stealing practice time. Now this is more for, you guys probably use this at the varsity level, but I use this with my JV guys all the time. During 2 days, you kind of have that in-between time. I'll say, okay, I need to work on my thunder. I'm going to have that group come out 5 minutes early. They get all excited. I say, I need my rabbits group come out 5 minutes early. We work on that. Thursday, I tell them, okay, pre-practice, classic Thursday, after practice JV get together. I tell them, get out early. If we get out early and get stuff done, we won't have to stay after the varsity goes in. And then when we do our sprint and tempo play, I usually do that versus air real quick in between time. There are times that we'll get out there early. I'll work with my guys, and then I'll take the one group that I want to work with as far as the sprint tempo, say, okay, just get out there, let's see how many times we can run trips bubble in a minute. And they know automatically, and that goes back to Coach Clinic, how he does formations, that you don't have to call out trips right. They automatically know. Practice idea, this was great. I just picked this up last week from Coach Derek Leonard. What they do is, he's at a 6A school, which is a little bit smaller in Illinois. They'll start off on about the 25-yard line. They'll set up their best of the rest defense. They'll run a play. Then they'll go down 20 yards down, and they'll have the fill-in guys. And I have barrels in there because he says he might have barrels in there too because he might not have enough guys. Or he kind of made the joke of, sometimes the arrows are better some of the guys. If you can set them in the right place, they won't move. And he said, so he'll have the younger guys there, and he'll run the same play back to back. And he said, and somebody asked, well, how does that affect with the younger guys? They know what's going on. He said, we like it because you might have a sophomore out there that's going to jump the hitch. Well, that teaches your quarterback where the read should go, and it helps the younger guys get a little excited too. Box drill, this is a couple years ago. It's a fantastic drill. I'm not going to read through the whole thing because I have video on this. I went to Clark, Coach Novak's, and we put this in. And once again, this is just the first day, and it'll flip. Using it, this is my flip video. It's one of the best tools besides the iPhone. So you have four corners of the box. They're the offense, defense in the middle. You call out a number. That number stays.
John, so who's the offense again in that?
The offensive are the corners, corner of the box. Defense is in the middle. So and the coach that went through this says you rotate your guys. This is how you find out who the best defenders are. This finds out who your best offensive guys are. Those guys just stand. There you go. See if they can get open in space, getting quick. He adapts it to use your 5-step drop, use your 3-step drop. They do rollout with it too. Best thing I can say is this is the best way to use right off the bat for if you're using like a curl flat concept of finding that, you know, it's the old kind of the settle and noose drill, but with defenders. You see this is the first day putting this in, so the quarterback was a little bit off, but that shows you how quickly you can get this put in.
Jeff, we've done this. Is also a great drill, a scramble drill too, where you make your guys find open space in very tight quarters.
And see, you can adapt that to how big the box is. I just put a pretty small box to start. You make it bigger. We got the first day guys.
Pay attention. Coach Novak, you might have to play D-tackle that guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a wrestler.
Hey, let them work it. You're thinking too quick right now, so way too quick. Let them work it. Pitch. Boom. Stay open within the box. Stay open within the box. Find open grass. We're on the field. Open grass. Find open grass.
The great thing about this is you can see you can do it in the gym, limited space, upper balcony. Okay, other practice ideas, wristbands. I know I haven't used wristbands in forever, and Coach Clinic kind of said we hate wristbands. Just one of the deals that I put this up here as kind of a self-discovery I should say 6 years ago when I was at Bloom. How do I practice fast against guys that know all the plays? Well, I put all our plays on a wristband, and it's all codes. And it kind of helped me from the aspect of the blue is all left hash stuff, the white is the middle, and the right is the right hash stuff. So I would just call blue, 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 111, so they would know, okay, we're gonna run Roger Seahawk. So I wouldn't call that out, because if I call out Roger Seahawk to my guys way back when, the defense knew, oh, we're running sprint out, flood. So that's just a little way, and then I used to have this on my play sheet to kind of help me out a little bit. Don't ask me all the plays, I've forgotten half. Because once again, I adapted it from, I always change my codes up from year to year, just because I get ADD, and then you think other teams are going to catch on to it. The one thing I will say, the wristband, you might, if you have a very wordy call, you might do a wristband with your quarterback, so you can just say one, and then he's going to look down and say, okay, yank, jet, power option, right. You don't want to be able to yell that all out. More practice ideas. How do you practice when your defense knows all the signals and codes? You go, I've asked that up until this past year, I've asked that at every clinic, and everybody says, well, we just go so fast in practice that the defense is too worried about getting lined up than stealing the play. Because you know how that is, you go no huddle, you're on code words, and the defense knows, and they jump, and there's the scout team hero, you get pissed off at them. So I adapted this. I do this with my JV guys. I have the nice head coach that we alternate, when we do 7-on-7, we have enough kids to go varsity JV, we get enough reps, it's nice. So once again, how do I figure out how I'm going to tell my guys, if I go double scan check with me, that the defense doesn't know, because I got some defensive guys that just play defense, that don't know what we're doing on offense, and I have some other guys that do play offense too. So just kind of, I said, I'm the ABD guy, so I can go through and I can say, doubles right, listen to me in the huddle for practice time. So then what we end up doing is I do my ADD and I'll go, so I go doubles right, listen to me. I'm going, they go down, set head, they look, and I'm gonna yell out, hammer, 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 hammer. I'm yelling out hammer, which is hitches, but my signal is smash. And the first day I did this, my guys picked this up easily, and the defense had no clue, because they're saying, they're trying to cheat as usual. So then I come back, and I go, doubles right, look at me, look at me. So then it's just the opposite. I'm yelling out, hammer, 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 hammer. Yelling out the same thing. Defense is saying, he's saying the same thing. Now they're looking at me, look at the signal. So then, now they know to run smash, not to run all hitches. And then, like I said, signal the hitch, yell bang. Trips, look and listen. It's a little bit different. I always did where I do number 3 looks at the signal, 1 and 2 listens to the code, because I'm always multiple in the fact of if I see something on the fly and I want to communicate that quickly, I don't have it in my arsenal yet. Well, that goes back to having the route tree and having that nice route tree that you can communicate it that way. And that all our trips, and it's really all our trip stuff when I'm talking about this, is all our quick game. So we don't name everything as far as the quick game. All our quick game is like 302. Well, last couple of years I've developed, I like 302 pitch. Well, you're not going to yell the whole thing. I mean, you could easily do that. So what I end up doing is we would say, I'd yell out 02, 02, 02, 02, 02. So I'm saying 02, they know, because our kids know, O means number 1, 2 means number 2, and then 3 is looking at me. He knows, okay, I've got the hitch. 302 hitch. And then that really screws up the defense, because I'm going trips, look and listen. So they don't, they're too worried about lining up and looking at that, and okay, then they know it's both. So that goes back to it. I got this from Coach Vint, James Vint, wrote a book about pistol and how to place guys. This goes back to how to line up. You got guys that might not have played last couple of years. Best way to do it. Instead of saying, okay, well, you're in Jack. Where's Jack at? Where's Jill at? Well, you're at 2. Start using 2. So they know 2, 2, 2. He does where, okay, right is always the tight end, and Ron is the tight ends in doubles. So he would say right 3. So right 3 would be he's at tight end, and the fullback, the mover, is at 3. Tailback is always at 1. And I kind of like that, might use that a little bit more as teaching than for an actual game. Because you could easily go 2 rip, 2 rip. Rip means the Y is out wide. 2 rip means then you're automatically, you're stacked. Rip 7, that means you're in true doubles. Move the guy all over the place. And we got some film, I guess we have to switch.
Yeah.
Film.
You wanna,
Yeah.
you wanna,
Yeah, we went on yours.
okay, where's your phone?
On huddle.
Oh, it's on hold, okay.
One of the few things I did put on huddle. And
Can
this
you
goes
send
back
that?
to if we have any questions.
Will you be able to send us that film that we're gonna see on Huddle right now, or no?
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Oh,
Third session. We're back as a freak, so we've run that horizontal option stuff, so now our back is offset a ton.
Mhm.
So here we go, the presentation. So I call it Thunder, Thunder, Thunder. Here's a series of 4 plays. At least I have some video validation. Yeah, it is JV, but at least you get the idea. We just hit a decent play for 20 yards, so I'm yelling out Thunder, Thunder, Thunder. We're in Wildcat. So there's my fullback. He gives the ball.
Is that your Portland play?
That's the Portland play. So we gain like 6 yards. So now we're lining up in doubles.
And every time you're yelling thunder, 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 right?
No, well, the thing is, and here's the thing about it, I'll pause it real quick. And coach can, when he talks, you try and go as fast as possible. You don't realize that you're going faster in practice than you are in the actual game. Because you got the chain gang moving, you got the classic, your favorite, the officials are taking forever.
900 pounds.
I was lucky to see that we're lined up, we're on the play, and the officials already set the ball in play, we're ready, we're good to go. So I, actually, within that time, yeah, I do, and it's kind of a CYA thing of, I call it Thunder, 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 and then they know that first play, boom. I might be calling out doubles, doubles, doubles to kind of remind them. But my kids are smart enough that they pick it up. So we go doubles. We go double screen. We'll do this in session 3. If you don't know what double screen is, I put it in last year. It's a very inexpensive play, and it's unbelievably good. It's just a crack screen to the short side of the field, and see, put this in because the defense called timeout. And only the second play. So here we go, Thunder, Thunder, Thunder again. Horizontal option. And that goes back to thinking outside the box. This year, my quarterback, I didn't really, at the JV level, really wanted to run him up the middle too often because I didn't have a quality backup. And he's not that type of kid. Great thrower, but not a great runner. I was like, well, I got this other kid, my fullback that's versatile, and he's smart. I'll just teach him to read it. So here we go. So we're in doubles. You have a crack screen to the left and then jailbreak to the right. I put this in the summer. It was fantastic. And it's one of those deals where I put it in the summer and we never got back to the jailbreak portion because the double screen was always open. And it was even with my JV guys missing blocks. And that's just, we're cracking at the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen, jailbreak at the bottom. Or top of the screen, jailbreak, bottom of the screen is double screen. Then we run bunch, bench, and once again, it normally should be, and we can talk about this third session about bunch stuff. Our bench concept is a curl flat concept. Normally the outside guy is clearing the concept out. Well, I tell him run a landmark fade. So he should be running out this way, but we have dumb players on occasion, so he's running straight. He's going to run our bench concept, which is the curl at 8 yards, and he runs an out. It's unbelievable in bunch. Should run it more. So then here's fourth play. Fourth play is, depending upon where we're at, they automatically know that we're going to be in, we call this true pistol because we kind of went back and forth of our head coaches. We'd offset the fullback and that would kind of give out the play. It's like, well, let's just put the fullback in back. So we have the double pistol look. So there you go. That's, and then we, 4 plays, almost score, and then we come back. So I piggyback this. So that was the 4th play, then automatically, we'll see if we get this going. I went from thunder to sprint, so on the left hash, we run trips right. So we buffer. Maybe. Beauty of huddle. Or I should say the internet. If not, we can look at it later.
You try clicking on the play. On the bottom,
Play what?
down on the bottom where it's the OTK, just click on the play itself. It might do it.
I know, you're right, yeah.
It doesn't load.
We'll just do this, like I said, adjust and proceed, and luckily I know it's play 114. Otherwise, we'll be looking at this later. Okay, well, we'll just go from there. We got stalled a little bit. So it was trips, sprint, so sprint, Scooby, and Scooby is just what we call, what I call, bubble. And we'll talk about that off film, why we call it Scooby. So, once again, you got it all there, all you guys have got my contact information, my Twitter account. Guys that don't know, we started a blog. We've been doing it for like 2 to 3 years now. It's got over 200,000 hits on it. We write everything. We started a forum in the last couple months because, you know, the Huey site is great, but it comes to the fact that they talk about other things that spread. We just want to talk about spread. And that's it.
Anybody have any questions? Do you have, oh, I'm sorry.
Is your regular offense any different than your 2-minute offense? So you're running no huddle anyway, so tell me as a defensive coach, would I expect to see something different from your regular offense than right before half or the end of the game, your 2-minute drill? Is it different than your normal offense?
No.
So your
It's the
2-minute
same
drill is
thing.
gonna be the same no huddle
Yeah.
as it would be all game?
Yeah. It's gonna be the same. It's just kind of, you get in that mindset of, it might be slow to scan to kind of see what you guys are doing, and as far as, well, you get to that point in 2 minutes that you pretty much know what the defense is gonna do. It's one of those deals where people go no huddle, and it's like, okay, it's always, you gotta go fast, 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 it is 2 minutes, while, but really the thing that you have to realize is when you go, you gotta put in that scan, that put on the brakes. And Coach will talk about it way more about the whole scan tempo. That's, when you put in no huddle, you put on going fast, and then day 2, you talk about putting on the brakes and scanning, because there's points that you do scans to kind of see what's going on with yourself as a play caller and to see what they're doing. Or
So
you do
a scan, tell me, a scan is actually to where you want to line up and then call a no play so that you see the alignment of the defense, is what you're
Yeah.
saying?
And Coach does the double scan with his guys,
Okay.
where they'll see. And we'll do scan, like this past year, going back to the whole communication, I tried to figure out that I have a sharp kid that coaches with me. He teaches at Andran. want to involve him more. So I said, okay, I'm gonna let him signal some plays, because he knows. I can give him some ownership of what's going on. So we would end up going, we got in game 2 against Maryville. It's kind of a tough game for me all the time, because we're playing frickin' Maryville. It's an unbelievable team. And I kind of get in that mode of, okay, I want to see what's going on. We call out scan, and all I scanned was, we would have, it goes back to, and I talked to the Maryville coach of who the live guy is, who the dead guy is. Well, I did that this year with my assistant, and I would call 3 plays in a row that they would look at him. And that was a whole different thing of how we do that, and we'll talk about that later, because I don't want that on film, of how we do that communication code. And it's all where he's at and all that good stuff. And it's the same thing we do of, I'll yell out one thing, and it's for them to listen to me. I'll yell out one thing, it's for them to look at me. I'll yell out one thing for them to look at him. I'll yell out one thing for them to look at him. So he and I are doing all this stuff, and our kids know, just look at him.
Or listen.
Or listen. Now, the thing with the listening, and that's the thing, is you can do signals. A lot of people say at the high school level, do your verbiage, it's good. You're never going to have, but you want to use your signals too, just in case. Because you get some loud, I know Brett will get some loud games going on that you want to be, how loud you can be.
Coach. Alright, so you got 2 signal callers, maybe 3, depending on, like, I know Maryville has a ton on their side. My thing is, how far away is that other signal caller that is live? And say we have myself and somebody else that's dead. How far away should we be, or should we be wearing, like I've gone to clinics where a guy wears a big pink shirt, a guy from Georgia, who's won playing state championships. He wears a big
Yeah,
pink
you have
shirt.
this, I mean, you literally can have, I mean, they should be standing right next to each other. I mean,
You
that's
can
what we
stand
do.
right next to them. The other thing is, if you have the technology that they're all on headsets, you can do it that way. Because I was at a clinic in January that the Ashland College coach talked about, that he calls the plays, and the wide receiver coach and the offensive line coach signals them in, or yells them in. So he's always the dummy. But he can do that, and the offensive line coach is never right next to you. He's gotta be at that angle. So if you have that technology that you can have the 2 headsets of, I want trips right, power right, glide and all that good stuff.
So with your numbers, the 1, 2 and stuff, let me ask you a question. Do you use that just for routes, or did you use that to signal in plays?
I could use that to signal in plays, and that's the next thing of the whole going real fast. I've always kind of, when Chip Kelly talked about that, communicating one thing, I kind of said in the back of my mind, well, if I did value meal number 1, what would be value meal number 1 for us? So what would be your number 1 formation? What would be your number 1 play? Like for us, it'd be jack right, power right.
So if you do like,
So if I were to use that and get to that far, you could just go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and you probably have to tell them it's 1, it's play 1. And I've kind of thought about, okay, well, you have play 1, like our number 1 pass play would be jack right, bench right. So communicate whether it's the run or it's the pass, too. So communicate that one thing, go 1, 1, 1, 1, what's our number 1 play, jack right, power right.
and how would you do like a 21 or something? Like if are you doing like the red, white, and blue 1 through 9? I mean 0 through 9, or are you doing?
Like if you use numbers for your run game?
No, like no run game. Like say if I'm gonna run counter, counter is like 1. But then if I'm running like hitches, like a 2x2, and that's like play 12, am I going 1, 2, or how am I signaling that in?
I would say if you're gonna use like a wristband to communicate or just directly to them.
Like I'm gonna yell out the formation,
Right.
and then I'm gonna give them the signal on the band. And I won't have counter left, counter right on the band. I'll just have counter, and then from what they line up, that's how I'm gonna run counter.
That's where you have to teach your quarterback to be smart to which way it's gonna go. Because
Yeah.
you're gonna say, and that's what coach does, he never calls which way the play is going. He teaches his quarterback.
Yeah.
And then you don't realize how, okay, well, if we're in trips right, we're gonna run counter left. How many times you actually run trips or you run counter to the trip side? Probably
Right.
hardly ever. So it's just teaching the kids.
So how would you signal in like play 12? Like how would you signal that in? Would you just go 1, 2?
Yeah, I'd go probably wristband and go 1, 2.
Okay, so you would do that.
So one, and so, yeah.
Okay.
Or 12, 12, 12. Or if you feel free to adapt it, if you get to that point of, 12 and 13, 14, 15, figuring out a signal for that. You could, if you have your jersey numbers, if you have kid's number 12, his name is Johnson, you could say, Johnson, Johnson, Johnson. They know, oh, he's jersey number 12. He's doing 12. And that goes back to figure out what kind of signals you're going to use for that. Yeah, I use, where I teach at, we do a lot of sign language with our kids, so signingsavvy.com is a great resource. And I could probably tell you all the signals for 11, 12, 13. You flick your fingers and all that stuff, and it's good, but, once again, adapt it to how you're getting, once again, ask your kids. Okay, if I want to communicate more than one, it's just this, and they know I'm going to go a little bit slower, 1, 2, so they know what's going. Anything else? Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna start, before I even start my presentation, is it, maybe the bathroom, or, yeah, kind of like that, and that's, I was already over caffeinated,